Welcome to Cardinals Cover 2 with Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki. Cardinals Cover 2 is brought to you by Arizona Cardinals Podcasts. Visit azcardinals.com/podcasts. From the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, here's Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki.
So a couple of topics right off the top here. Number one, yes, Kyler Murray is expected to start week one. Number two, yes, Larry Fitzgerald is a Hall of Famer. And no, it doesn't matter what Cliff Kingsbury does on his free time. It plays no factor whatsoever.
Now, do you realize what you just did? You probably covered 3 hours of radio.
Exactly. Topics that I deliberately did not bring up on this show over the last week and a half because, one, I didn't think it was a big deal. So we just took care of it in 30 seconds.
Last I checked, they do get the weekends off. The guy's been grinding. Yeah, when you hang out with Tom Brady and you're at the Derby, I didn't see any photos of him at the fight, but I'm sure he was back here in the office early, whether it was Sunday or Monday. Listen, he has a life and he's been grinding. So, yeah, that's like 3 hours of radio you just did.
Over like 5 days straight.
Yeah.
All right.
We try to deal with facts here.
Just straight to the point and what Cardinal fans want to hear.
You know
about.
what I was thinking about you when I was watching the Kentucky Derby, and I'm thinking
this ought to be a good explanation
no.
here. How are you connecting the dots?
Well, because it's come up in the show previous,
okay.
is that it was a personal lesson watching the Derby where that horse should have stayed in his lane.
That's right. The theme here on Cards Cover 2 for our first full season, stay in your lane.
Stay in your
Absolutely.
lane.
I thought you were implying that Craig
Yeah,
ate a lot of oats in his diet or something.
I wasn't sure where we were
No,
going right
I was
here.
just saying. We say it all the time.
Apples, oats, and salt licks.
That's right. Man, that was fascinating. Never seen that before. Anyways, we got a lot to talk about because the rookies are coming in town.
Yeah, just right around the corner. And with that, let's take off here on this Wednesday, let you know what's ahead on the show. Kyler Murray's Cardinals debut. Yeah, it's coming up. Of course, it's only rookie minicamp, but still. One of Murray's new teammates, KeeSean Johnson, how does he see the road ahead of him? Many people have question marks about the offensive line, and rightfully so. Might Lamont Gaillard be an answer to one of those questions? And we go inside the Cardinals draft room. The latest episode of Flight Plan debuts tomorrow. We've got a preview and, of course, your questions via social media using the hashtag CardsCover2, hashtag CardsCover2 using the number 2 to get involved in the show here this afternoon. That's all ahead. But right now, first things first, the news of the day. And this is actually something that happened yesterday, something you, MJ, pointed out to me, and that is starting on Tuesday, free agent signings no longer count against a team's compensatory pick formula. It's a complicated formula, but it does mean something important to these teams, and it's why you see so many free agents still available, some big-name free agents. In fact, Sports Illustrated listed their top 13 still on the market, and many of these are household names. Ziggy Ansah, Ndamukong Suh, Eric Berry, Trey Boston, the former Cardinal safety, still out there and available. I did see earlier today that perhaps the Seahawks and Bills are targeting Ansah, but you might see, as we say, the second wave of free agency here over the next couple of weeks because it doesn't count. And then guys should want to be signed now because OTAs, minicamp right around the corner. You don't want to really wait until training camp. Some veterans do. John Abraham comes to mind that the Cardinals signed in the midst of training camp. You don't want a lot of wear and tear, don't need a lot of work, but you might see more names pop up here in the next couple of days.
Yeah, now when it comes to Suh, he's made $12 and $11 million personally, over his average per year. Obviously, he cashed in when he was with Detroit and then went down to Miami. And we've talked about he wants to stay somewhere in the West Coast. I don't know if there's some option. I think he's a high-ticket item, maybe about $9 million a year with incentives. So Cardinals are at 13.8 when it comes to the cap, according to the Players Association. That's a fluid situation, and that includes the rookie pool. So I would think if there's positions to look for, it would be defensive tackle, okay, inside linebacker, and then you want to go out and maybe take a look at an offensive tackle. And there's players out there. So usually what happens after the rookie minicamp and we get into the OTAs, teams say, oh, we drafted this guy. He's got more upside, and we're paying this guy this. Well, time to move on. So, and we know the Cardinals have the number one claim for any players getting released until week 4. And when we get to week 4, it's based on records. So they're sitting pretty. But, I was kind of told, or I was told that you're probably not going to see anything until during the OTAs because they want to see what they have on the roster first, including the 12 undrafted free agents and your 11 draft picks. And then you got tryout guys. You got to field, got to field guys for the weekend. So once we get to OTAs, then I would think that they will start looking because you definitely want to have him in here for your mandatory minicamp. And just like last year, the first day of camp, Trey Boston signed. He was always on the radar. He didn't get the money he was looking for. But so I think they'll be, I don't want to say aggressive or active, but they will definitely look at certain positions where they want to add some depth.
And I would think inside linebacker might be at the top of that list because right now you just look at Hassan Reddick, Jordan Hicks, and then behind them, Dennis Gardeck, Tanner Vallejo. But, that's a huge drop-off between Reddick, Hicks, and then who's behind him. And one guy to pay attention to this weekend might be Dante Booker, the linebacker out of Ohio State. Yeah, it's an undrafted rookie free agent, but the connection with Bill Davis, now with the Cardinals coaching linebackers, there might be someone that you could sign after, or not sign, he's already signed, but someone that you might be able to plug in and could surprise to where he becomes a contributor, especially come late in the preseason and in maybe even week one.
Yeah, that was one name. There's 4 names that I was told to keep an eye on. Now, again, they get through the weekend. They can offer some of these tryout guys an opportunity. But on paper, right now, they're starting inside linebacker Jordan Hicks. He'll make the calls, and then Hassan Reddick. And then Zeke Turner. I mean, he's more of a hybrid linebacker now versus safety. You throw in Joe Walker, more of a special teams player. Vallejo, he's more of a special teams player. But I think you're right about Booker. And then you throw in Dennis Gardeck. I'm sure he wants more playing time on defense, but he's also a special teams player. So it'll be interesting to see. But right now, the 2 starters, and then you got to find some backups.
All right, let's pivot to rookie minicamp Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Media availability is Friday, and we've been told we'll have about 25 minutes out on the field to kind of see what these rookies are able to do. And really all eyes will be focused on number 1, and that is Kyler Murray. Him being in action and wearing Cardinals gear. And what are we looking for? Well, we're looking to see him in the pocket, how he moves, and, of course, firing downfield to his wide receivers. But the threat to run, that is going to be a different wrinkle that this Cardinals offense hasn't had since maybe, Jake Plummer? The other name that came to mind was Max Hall, but, that's such a small period of time he spent with the Cardinals. But there hasn't been that quarterback when you drop back that maybe it's a design run.
He didn't do it all the time, but Josh McCown.
All right, that's good. I like that one. Yes.
But he didn't do it. He did it out of necessity, trying to extend plays.
But the mobility to buy time.
Exactly. Buy time in the pocket, try to roll out to his right so he could buy some time. And he would take some hits, but he would try to slide and knock it out of bounds. But I think more similar to Jake, but we're talking about a different athlete here. Jake was not a 4-3 guy. No disrespect, but I'm just saying we haven't had this flavor for a long, long time at that position.
Well, I don't think the NFL has had this kind of flavor. When you combine the arm strength, the arm accuracy,
the dual threat,
plus his legs and just how quick he is, and the quickness, and then also the speed as well.
And the arm strength and throwing in the tight windows. I'm excited to watch him. And then, we get to training camp, and I don't know how much he's going to play in the preseason. I'm kind of going on the side of I wouldn't show a whole lot, and you feel a little bit differently because it is about speed, but also getting the timing down. But I want to surprise.
And then selfishly, you want to see him.
I do, but just maybe 10 series the whole preseason, like maybe 1 in the first one. I don't know if they go on some drives, then you can dictate how many snaps. They may have him on a snap count. He's going to start the Raiders game, but I kind of want to surprise some of these teams in the month of September. I'm sure if you're Matt Patricia, and they've gone out and got some weapons now for Matthew Stafford, he's probably going to watch some Oklahoma film and watch some Texas Tech film. Maybe he'll watch a little bit of Patrick Mahomes. So I just want to be a little bit of surprise if it could be that case based on what they watch.
General Manager Steve Keim called Murray a game changer. His skill set, something Murray discussed after his introductory press conference with Paul Calvisi.
I've said it many times, when I'm on the field, I feel like I'm the most impactful and the best player on the field at all times. I think that's just what I bring to the game. Dynamic with my feet, dynamic with my arm, can throw inside, outside the pocket, and I think I have a special ability to make everybody around me better.
When you run, is it out of necessity? Do you look for opportunity to run? Do you enjoy running?
No, I think God blessed me with the ability to run fast. But no, I'm pure passer. When I have to run the ball, I will run the ball. If stuff breaks down, I got the ability to do some things outside of the pocket and make things happen. But no, I'm not looking to run or anything like that. Just I feel like you have to have a feel. And I have the natural feel, obviously, but no.
When you do run, how fast are you? Because you didn't run at the combine, so I think everyone's curious.
Yeah, no, I think I would have busted out a 4.3 for sure, but I don't know. I would have had to do it, but I think for 4.3 for sure.
But when it comes to beating defenses from the pocket, making decisions, accuracy, you're confident you have that ability.
Yeah, I pride myself on that, and I think I've shown that. If you run the stats, run the statistics on how many times I threw the ball from the pocket last year. I think it was in the 90% range, but no, I have no worries about that. It's kind of it's the NFL now, it's a new level, but gonna have to find different throwing lanes and all types. I've had to do that my whole life. So
he is not a running quarterback to the point where the first option is to run, and just watching his highlights, it's the running behind the line of scrimmage from left to right, forward, backwards, to allow his receivers, tight ends, running back, whomever, to get open downfield. It's not, hey, we need 5 yards, let me handle the ball, as opposed to getting the ball in my playmaker's hands.
I'm glad he said it, a 4-3, because that was what I was always told, a 4-3-3, and we know Vic, 4-2-5. But to take away him playing the quarterback position, I don't know who said this, but kind of a little Barry Sanders when he's running, where Barry would get 1, 2, -3, and then he'd rip off a 40-yard run. We were talking to Jimmy a couple days ago just about Dante Hall, the human joystick, and somebody said he's kind of like Devin Hester in the open field.
I
so
heard that, yeah.
He changes when he crosses the line of scrimmage. Now, again, doesn't look like he gets a lot of big hits. I know that these lanes close up quicker in the NFL. They're more athletic. But doesn't seem like he puts himself in harm's way.
Yes, and that's important because
Very important.
He's learned how to avoid the big hits. He's learned to slide, and obviously that comes from his baseball background.
Slide's great.
But the football IQ,
yes.
The instincts to know where, okay, maybe I can get an extra 3 or 4 yards, but I see this linebacker bearing down on me. You know what? Let me just step out of bounds right here, and I'll get those extra 2 or 3 yards on the next play.
The old saying, live for another down.
Absolutely.
And it's okay to punt in this league. If your defense is top 10 and you can put pressure on the quarterback and you can, and sounds like Vance Joseph is really important on first down, let alone second and third down. Yeah, just overall, though, it's going to be interesting. I talked to a couple players in the last 2 days, and I talked with you earlier today, and I haven't tweeted anything out. It was more like, what are your thoughts on the offense? And both guys smiled, and they said, fast pace, hurry up, get rid of the ball, get us in space. So it's only been a couple of weeks, but they could see what they're trying to accomplish. And again, Kingsbury's never called plays in the NFL, even though he played the quarterback position. We know he's called them in college, but you can just see the excitement. And they were two young offensive players. They were at the skill position, but they were really excited just where they are now compared to when they continue to install. They'll be installing until training camp.
Oh, absolutely. Murray certainly has the ability to run, but does not want to run. Adrian Wilson last week on the Big Red Rage discussed just that.
If you go back to, his high school tape and you watch his high school games, he was winning from the pocket. He was a guy that, he always wins from the pocket. That was the first thing that he wants to do. And, if it's out of necessity for him to run, I think that's what he does. But, I think this is a guy that wants to win from the pocket. He has the ability to do it. And, I think that's what he hangs his hat on.
We're big fans of Pro Football Focus here on Cards Cover 2, and some of it is more easier to digest than other stats, but Kyle Odegaard put up a blog earlier this afternoon on azcardinals.com focusing on that metrics, the Pro Football Focus, and taking a look at Kyler Murray and what he has done and how he evaluated compared to the other quarterbacks in this 2019 draft class. And Odegaard pointed out that Murray scored in the top of the charts in all 10 of the quarterback categories that Pro Football Focus measures, and you're talking about everything, in pressure, high pressure situations, late game situations. So that, to me, tells you more than just, hey, he's a quarterback who likes to run and will bail. And that's something that Russell Wilson got tagged with early in his career because he wouldn't let the play develop.
Yeah, they had him ranked number 1 on their board. And again, all 32 teams subscribe to it. What they do is they cross-check. You get the coach's film, Sunday night. Monday, obviously, the personnel staff will look at some film. But all 32 teams subscribe. I don't think it's the Bible, but I think it's a tool you can use to see, are we all seeing the same thing, or what did they see versus us? And it can help you improve when it comes to analytics.
Now, when we had a chance to sit down with Kyler Murray here following his introductory press conference, you asked an interesting question, I thought, about him throwing the ball, his different arm angles, and then specifically what Murray sees when he steps up to the line of scrimmage.
Everybody wants to make a big deal about the height of my linemen. I mean, my linemen have always been bigger than me. They'll always be bigger than me. So I don't understand that, but. Like you said, I mean, I'm the shortest quarterback in probably the NCAA, and I had the least amount of balls batted down or tied
No, you had the lowest.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that just comes with the feel of knowing when to get the ball out, seeing someone, everything, ties into not getting the ball batted down, obviously. But, I think just trusting the process, trusting my technique, trusting play calling, and knowing where your linemen are, knowing where the defensive linemen are, and just having that feel of, a natural feel playing quarterback.
Now, when you're getting ready to throw the ball, do you look for coverage or you look for the receivers running their routes?
I mean, you recognize coverage beforehand. Some people disguise it. Some people, try to show it later than others. But at the same time, you as a quarterback, you got to know what everybody's doing on the field. You got to know the linemen are shifting, going who they're going to, and know where the receiver, what routes they're running. If it's zone, they're doing this. If it's man, they're doing this. So. No, I mean, I love it. It is what it is. It's part of playing quarterback. But I couldn't tell you if I'm looking at coverage or you just got to read it out and, obviously have a feel of what the defense is.
Sure.
It's the one stat that really stood out heading into the draft concerning Murray and his size and whether it's an adequate size for an NFL quarterback. But when you looked at what he accomplished in college, and you brought it up in that interview, 5 balls batted down at the line of scrimmage, as compared to everyone else, Drew Lock and Daniel Jones, which were 3 times as many as that during their 2018 season.
Even Dwayne Haskins, who's, between him and Jones and Ryan Finley, they had double digits. He had 5. And again, when you see the highlights, he's got 6'4" and 6'5" offensive linemen that were drafted. So it's not like he was playing with where he couldn't see over the line. You could see when Drew Brees throws the ball, his neck goes up a little bit as he's throwing it, but he has a little bit more touch on his ball to where it's not going to get batted down. And he's got that side angles and side throws like Mahomes and even Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson. He can get the ball there where he can take a little bit off it, allow the guy to get out in space and try to get yards after catch.
He creates his own passing lanes to a certain extent because of his size and because of his mobility, and that makes it a little bit more easier for him to kind of buy time and then find guys downfield. It's amazing and just how quickly that ball leaves his hand.
Yeah, and that's going to be something that I think we're going to see a lot of. Now, you definitely want to let your receivers, get open. Sometimes you're going to have to come back to the ball so they can get, ahead of their cornerback, but yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see him on the run and trying to extend plays with his legs, but obviously he wants to connect that pass. So, yeah, it's going to be fascinating. I know there's going to be some growing pains, but I think the fact that he fits Kingsbury's offense to a T, he syncs up. I think that's going to help speed up the process.
And Friday will be just a small, and let's emphasize small, taste of this because one, I don't know how much we'll be able to see in those 25 minutes. Most of that is stretching, one-on-one drills. You're not going to see, I would think, any team, anything like that as far as offense versus defense. That might be waiting until the media leaves so you can kind of work things
there's no
under
doubt
closed
about
doors. But, I mean, we're all wondering, we want to see it, and we want to see it now. I think you're going to have to be patient and wait until really training camp in the preseason.
Yeah, I think that's the scenario, and it's one of those deals where when they get back on the field with the veterans, he's getting first team reps, okay, and then we'll see how many other young rotation players is Byron Murphy getting a chance to compete with Tremaine Brock at slot corner, Zach Allen, he's part of the rotation. You don't have Kem Dichie right now, so when they start practicing with the veterans, that's when I think we can put more of an evaluation on it because people will talk in that locker room about, man, offensively, he's special. I mean, you see the things he's doing defensively, It's kind of a challenge for the defense because you can't touch the quarterback in practice, but you definitely want to make it difficult for him. And if Patrick Peterson's guarding Larry Fitzgerald, I mean, you're going to throw the ball to Fitz. So I think once they start practicing with the veterans, we'll get a better read on where he's at. Again, it's a long process.
Absolutely. This is a Wednesday edition here on Cards Cover 2 as we come to you from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center and broadcasting as we always do in our Bose QC35s. Go to Bose.com for more information. A reminder, if you ever miss a show, you can download as a podcast via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, TuneIn, and SoundCloud. And don't forget, all of your favorite Cardinal podcasts can be found at azcardinals.com/podcasts.
David Rye yesterday. Boy.
Speaking of podcasts, the Coaches Chronicle podcast, a much must-see, must listen to on azcardinals.com.
I mean, this thing went
35 minutes.
Right, but he's a storyteller.
Fascinating.
But when we posted him talking, it was like a 2.5-minute clip. He looks like John Gruden with that hair, but he's got some great stories on all three of these receivers. And so, good hire there. Obviously, he's got a relationship with Devontae Adams, KeeSean Johnson, broke all of Adams' records at Fresno State, so he's got a good story now. Derek Carr was throwing the ball to him a little bit different. But you got to check it out. His hair just reminds me of Chucky.
Yes. Well, if you watch just a tad bit further in that was one of the last questions we asked because we streamed that one on Facebook, and people were like, is this John Gruden? Hey, is that John Gruden? Man, that guy looks like John Gruden.
Yes.
Hey, John Gruden's in there. When did we hire John Gruden? So I asked him, I said, do you ever get that? He goes, all the time. And then Paul asked him to do an imitation, and he did a pretty good one. He could definitely pass. Now, the preseason game, preseason game number 3? The Cardinals host the Raiders on national TV. If ESPN
get a picture of them
was
together.
smart, either that or do a
look at that.
Yeah, there he is.
Hey,
for those
man.
watching us here on.
Hey, man, how you doing?
At least we didn't say he had hair like Mark Davis. Now he pays like $800 for that haircut. Seriously.
Who does?
Mark Davis.
Oh, I thought you were talking about David Ryan.
No, Mark Davis, because people criticized it, and the stylist come out and said that's the way he wants his hair. I wonder how much Chucky pays.
To each his own here.
But if ESPN was smart, they'd do a split screen.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
It'd be kind of weird to get them together.
No, I know, but
the split screen is totally doable.
And it's got to be when they don't have their hat on.
Yeah.
Because Gruden puts a reel down close.
Or wear a visor, man.
That was not bad.
Not
Jimmy.
bad at all.
Have a lot of time to practice.
Look, there he is, Chucky.
azcardinals.com
What are you talking about, man?
/podcast.
We got 3 wide receivers in the draft, man.
Coaches Chronicle podcast with Cardinals wide receivers coach David Ryan. Speaking of Cardinals wide receivers, let's continue to highlight the 2019 draft class. We looked at the 3 7th-round picks late last week and then finished up on Monday. Today, the 2 6th-round selections, wide receiver KeeSean Johnson out of Fresno State, and then offensive lineman Lamont Gaillard out of Georgia. First up, though, Johnson, the 174th overall pick and the 3rd of the 3 wide receivers drafted. Here is Steve Keim on Johnson.
The one thing that jumped out at me about this young man is, as I watched the tape, he's one of the better natural route runners that I saw in this draft process. I'm talking about a guy who can drop his weight, who's really good getting in and out of routes, is extremely smooth, could probably play Z for us, could play X, could play a number of different spots. So his position versatility and his playmaking ability jumped off the tape at us.
And speaking of David Rye, his quote about Johnson on the Coaches Chronicle podcast was this, quote, "The guy is smooth. You could put a glass of water on his head and he could run 80 yards without spilling a drop," unquote. As now that visual plays in your head based off of what Keim said and calling him a natural route runner and how smooth he is. And, of course, Rye with his visual artistic explanation. We'll have to see that for ourselves, but we did see it at Fresno State. ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr. has singled out Johnson as one of his, quote, instant impact rookies of 2019. NFL Network's Lance Zierlein had a great piece on Johnson, writing, quote, "He wins contested catches and plays with the desired combination of smoothness and suddenness," unquote. So a lot of people are pinpointing Johnson of the 3, maybe not as much talked about because he was the 3rd and a 6th-round draft pick, but one of those guys that maybe be able to sneak up and maybe make a more of an impact earlier than perhaps an Andy Isabella or Hakeem Butler.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, I think he's in the top 5 right now. We talk about Fitz and Kirk, and I think because of where Isabella was drafted and Hakeem Butler, but I think Johnson's in the mix. So you're hearing good things about Kevin White, Trent Sherfield. So we haven't talked about, Farrell Cooper, and they got some guys back there that maybe they're not going to be this top 5 or 6 receivers, but they can play on teams. Yeah, you look at them, second team all Mountain West Conference. We don't focus on this enough because I think we've gotten spoiled. Team captain, back-to-back years. We're going to talk about another guy who was a team captain coming up here. The strengths, fleet of foot receiver, quick release, vertical acceleration into his routes, twitchy reflexes, long arms, soft hands, can pluck the football off the shoe tops or away from his body. Now, some of his weakness, accelerates quickly, but speed taps out. Something to look for. More of a grinder than a pure route runner, but he finds ways to get open. You see some of those catches?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not great speed, but I think
he ran a 4.6.
It might be something that we come back after, maybe 8 games or whatever in the season and say, you know what, it's Christian Kirk all over again, because that was a knock on Kirk. He doesn't have great speed, yet there's a difference between running 40 yards versus running on the field and getting past defenders on a Sunday.
He ran a 4.6 at the combine. He stood on the combine board and bench, so he didn't do that. But at his pro day, he ran a 4.53.
So a little bit better.
A little bit better.
Yeah.
Another thing that David Rye added in the Coaches Chronicle podcast about wide receiver KeeSean Johnson was the fact that you oftentimes see receivers when the ball's in the air, they kind of slow up to make sure they secure the catch and then go. He says he does not slow. It's all fluid. He goes right through the route, right through the catch, I should say, and maintains whatever speed he has without hesitation.
That's going to lead to yards after catch.
If you can hit him in stride.
Hit him in stride because he's not going to stop. A lot of times if you're running an out route, you got to come back to the ball. Here you catch him in stride. And, again, some of those one-handed catches in the end. So I know the talent's going to be different, but just to see that, I mean, yeah, he could be. Listen, I'm very intrigued to see which one of these guys emerges, what kind of roles they have, and I think we'll know more when we get to the season, maybe the halfway point, and maybe we just, in fairness to them, give them a full year to see how they fit in.
Johnson, back-to-back seasons of 1,000 yards receiving, both as a junior and a senior, and he left Fresno State as the school's all-time leader in both career receptions and receiving yards, besting the marks that Devontae Adams had held. And, of course, Adams now with the Green Bay Packers, a very, very good wide receiver, a 2-time Pro Bowler, and almost 1,400 receiving yards last season. And, yes, Johnson and Adams are very close. In fact, Johnson has asked Adams for advice during this whole process leading up to the draft and now post-draft. But the one thing about this, and you touched on it, as far as 3 wide receivers drafted, you've got 14 wide receivers on the roster right now. That means competition, and Johnson, he's anxious for it.
It's only going to make us better as a team. That's all it's going to do. We have a lot of great weapons that's going to come in, just that can help the offense in different ways. And we're going to just come in and we're going to compete every day and just compete as a team because at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Nothing's going to be handed to any of these players. I mean, you might have some that get more opportunities based off their status, draft position, contract, whatever it is. But if you don't produce, then they'll find someone that is, whether that's someone that got drafted or was an undrafted rookie free agent or someone on a tryout basis.
Yeah, listen, again, we'll find out what Murray's snap count or possessions in the preseason, but rounds 2 through 7, they're all going to play, and they should. Because, some guys don't like playing rookies, but this staff doesn't appear that's the case. If you're better than the next guy, they want competition. Arians always maintained that you see guys, kind of hit the wall, but after Thanksgiving, you hope they can contribute because they're getting ready for their bowl season when we get to November. And listen, it's 20 games, between the preseason, and I know the starters don't play a ton, but I think from rounds 2 to 7, these guys are going to play a lot.
Johnson listed at 6'1", 201, the 174th overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the first of 2 Cardinals' 6th-round selections, the second of which was the offensive lineman Gaillard, number 179, the first offensive lineman the Cardinals drafted. Here is Steve Keim.
He was a guy that went in as a defensive lineman to the University of Georgia, and that's one of the things that we like so much about him is he brings that intensity to the offensive line. The key for him and for us is he's not a center only. He's played offensive guard at the University of Georgia. He played offensive guard in the postseason bowl game. So we were excited to watch him at both spots, and to know a guy has combo ability, can probably play all three spots inside is really, to me, a tremendous asset.
Couple of things there. One, obviously the versatility, but the fact that he was a former defensive lineman, and he told us on a conference call after he was selected by the Cardinals on that day 3 that he made the position switch because he wasn't getting enough reps as a defensive lineman, moved to the other side because he wanted to play, and turns into an all-SEC center the last 2 years, but he has the ability, as Keim, you heard him mention, can play the guard spot. So versatility, and the more you can do, obviously makes your roster hold a little bit more secure, perhaps. But I think he might be someone that maybe not right away, but if you can maybe work on as a project, or if it doesn't work out on week 1, maybe you slip him through, try to get him on the practice squad. But the fact is that he's 6'3", 305, but is certainly the versatility that stands out.
Yeah, and he redshirted. He was a defensive scout when he first got there. He only played a couple games in 2015. He played right guard all 13 games. 2017, he played offensive center all 15 games. And then last year, he played all 14 games at offensive center. As you mentioned, first team All-SEC, also team captain.
Yeah.
And to me, Sweezy's on a 2-year deal. Of course, Justin Pugh is obviously got to stay healthy, but he's got a couple years left. I think he makes the roster. Obviously, you could subject to waivers, but I think in the future, this is where, the fan base is, why didn't they draft a lineman earlier? Well, because they're going to go with veteran guys, first of all, and even the backups will be veteran guys. A.Q. Shipley, Max Garcia when he's healthy, and Corey Cunningham. Could see Gossett out there. We'll see about the Morgan State Miles, because maybe he's more of maybe a redshirt year, maybe practice squad, but I think offensive tackle. But yeah, it's to me, this is what you do in those later rounds where guys have. It's not like you're getting a guy that only played a half of snaps. His snap count went every single year. The scouting report: strengths, functional snap quickness, works hips to maneuver through tight spaces, upper body strength to turn nose tackles from in the run lane. So he's not the tallest guy, but he's one of those guys. And I love the fact that he went against the ACC and the SEC. And how many guys at Clemson and Alabama put in the NFL that play D tackle?
Well, just take a look at guys that he blocked for: Sonny Mitchell, Nick Chubb. I mean, you're talking about some quality running backs right there, and they didn't do it all by themselves, so you need help, and he was part of that offensive line. Now, he believes he's a better player at the center spot, but at least with this Cardinals team, when you have an A.Q. Shipley and Mason Cole, right now you're running third. And I don't see him maybe down the line, but I don't see him as far as in the mix at the center spot, at least not right now. He might be someone that might have a better opportunity to get on the field quicker at one of the guard spots.
Yeah, and Max Garcia is still rehabbing from an ACL injury. I don't think they're going to push him. They want to make sure he's ready for camp. So I would think he's going to get probably second-team reps with Gossett, maybe some others. But, yeah, I mean, to me, like I said, I think rounds 2 through 7, they're going to play a lot, and I think he has a really good opportunity to be on the active roster, because if you look ahead at next year, he's a plug-and-play guy, and you don't have to go out and spend big money in free agency at a certain position because you got guys in-house.
Moments after he was drafted, Gaillard on a conference call talked about his fit with the Cardinals.
I feel like it matches up amazing. We just got a great quarterback, and feel like I'm going to fit right in. And once we get into the offensive line scheme and everything they do there, I'm going to just come in and ball and show my versatility around the board and just do what I can to provide for the team.
Now, he was a 6th-round selection, as I mentioned, 179. He thought that he might go a little bit earlier. He had to wait until day 3 to hear his name called, and I think you're going to have someone that comes in this weekend, and then once he gets into training camp and around everyone else and his career starts to develop, he's going to have that chip on his shoulder because, as he told us earlier on that conference call as well, that, yeah, he thought maybe perhaps day 2, but he had to wait until day 3.
I mean, I expected to go a lot earlier just because I think I'm the best in the draft. But it's whatever God has in plan. He set me for this round, and I'm great to come into this team, especially with the new quarterback and the new system they got coming up.
22 offensive linemen on the roster. It is a large number, but I think because with what we saw a year ago with the offensive line and the 10 different offensive line combinations, that You need it. I'll steal your phrase. You need to flood the position, and they have. Now the question is, okay, who's going to emerge out of those 22? And we all know what we think is going to be the starting 5 and your key backups, but that's predicated on, can they pick up the offense? Can they handle the position?
Health.
And bingo. That's the number one thing, health, because there was an unhealthy offensive line in 2018.
Well, the Cardinals, once everyone comes in, takes a physical, including the 12 undrafted free agents, the rookie class, and then they got some tryouts, which don't count. But they got 98 guys on the roster. Now, normally at the offensive line position, you bring 15. So that's first string, second string, and third string. So they're going to have to make some roster moves over the next couple of days to get down to 90, and then we'll see what happens over the weekend. So I don't know if they're going to have 22 guys when we get to the OTAs or the mandatory veterans camp. But I do think you could see a couple of those guys, and I have no idea just who, because, Sean Kugler's been here enough to look at the film based on other guys, Will House, Will Holden on the roster, some other guys. So I'm sure they're utilizing his film session, because I think when he came in, we were thinking maybe Joe Barksdale would be the guy, and of course they pulled off the trade for Marcus Gilbert, who obviously Saxon has a relationship with. But Joe Barksdale, and I think Kugler came in here and said, I want to do something a little bit different in our run game. So obviously he was a free agent.
The Cardinals on Thursday, as we continue highlighting the 2019 draft class, are going to introduce 4 of their draft picks. Andy Isabella, along with Zach Allen, Hakeem Butler, and Deontay Thompson, the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th round picks, respectively. We will cover those introductory press conference here, a special edition of Cards Cover 2 on Thursday at 1 o'clock. And then once that is all done, we'll be ready for rookie minicamp, because at that point we will have either talked to every draft pick or covered their press conference or spotlighted them, as we have over the last couple of days regarding the 6th round and 7th round picks. So we got a pretty good idea on what they've done in the past. Now the question is, what can they do right now?
Yeah, and it's an exciting day because they're all going to get here at the same time. I'm sure they'll all be at the same hotel. And we know that Murray is obviously selected number 1, and it's you ought to go to azcardinals.com/shop, because you can get your Cardinals jersey with Murray. But it's well, first of all, they get fitted for their pads, obviously equipment, helmet, jersey, cleats. So it's an exciting day, and I'm sure all these guys. And now, one thing to keep in mind, just because the guy's wearing a jersey now, it could change when we get to the 53-man roster. So the way I like to phrase it, assign this jersey number doesn't mean go out and buy a jersey, but it's an exciting day considering they put all the work in. They've been on that banquet tour, as I talked about, getting the wine and dine, the red carpet. Now it's time to go to work.
Yes, that starts tomorrow. And again, 1 o'clock, come here to azcardinals.com. Special edition of Cards Cover 2 for the introductory press conferences of Isabella, Allen, Butler, and Thompson. We broadcast here on this Wednesday from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, and, of course, broadcasting in our Bose QC35s. Go to Bose.com for more information. A reminder, if you ever miss a show, you can download it as a podcast via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, TuneIn, and SoundCloud. And don't forget, all of your favorite Cardinals podcasts can be found at azcardinals.com/podcast, including the conversation Paul Calvisi and Lisa Matthews had with David Rye.
Speaking of David Rye, I guess he was really impressed with the Bose.
It's first words out of his mouth. We're talking about the headphones here. Bose QC35s. Yeah. Love the sound.
That's what he said. He was in here for 35 minutes.
And I think he should become a regular here in studio.
Well, there's a pecking order, right?
Well, I'd love to get the head coach, but I'll settle for the wide
I thought we were working on Adrian Wilson.
We're working on everybody here.
Hey, we'll have all 4 tomorrow.
Yes.
azcardinals.com.
Absolutely. Now, before we get to your questions via social media and let the Bird Gang sound off here on this Wednesday, again, the newest and latest episode of Cardinal Flight Plan debuts tomorrow. It's titled On the Clock. Here's a preview.
This day can define the next decade for this franchise.
It felt like it all fell in place throughout the draft, and really pleased with how it turned out for us.
Byron.
Isabella.
Zach.
Hakeem.
Deontay.
KeeSean.
Lamont.
Joshua.
Michael, how you doing?
Caleb.
You got a deal, brother?
You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's call Kyler.
Kyler. Okay, where are we at? We're 2 picks away.
As you always know, it's not about where you start.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Congrats.
And I don't know that I've heard a player more emotional. This is what it's all about.
With the first pick.
The talk is over. Now they got to deal with you.
In the 2019 NFL Draft.
It's time, man.
The Arizona Cardinals select Kyler Murray.
Love the roll call of all 11 draft picks as they were on the phone with Cardinals front office. Again, Cardinals Flight Plan, Thursday, 6 p.m. on Facebook Watch and YouTube. And you can catch up on past episodes by going to azcardinals.com/flight plan. All right, without further ado, your questions. Time for the Bird Gang to sound off here on this Wednesday using the hashtag CardsCover2. Hashtag CardsCover2. Let's begin with Twitter at Cardinals31 wants to know, MJ, all right, outside of Kyler Murray, which rookie are you most interested to watch at the rookie minicamp this week?
Deontay Thompson.
Wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that.
I mean, I could have went for the receivers, but, there'll be plenty of time to see that. But I just think he dropped because obviously he had a broken wrist, wasn't able to work out the combine. He played for Nick Saban. I think he could be a guy, obviously Swearinger's on the last year of his deal. The Cardinals would like to, obviously figure out the future, and I think he's got a great opportunity to be here, Swearinger. So he can never have enough depth. Buda Baker's going back to his natural position, and I think he has a great chance of making this roster. So we're not going to see a whole lot in shorts, but I look forward to watching him in training camp.
Everyone's going to focus on the wide receivers. Yeah. Outside of Murray, but I'll throw another defensive guy just because we've talked a lot about him, and that is Zach Allen. Just how much is he around the football? Yes, it's helmet and shorts, but is he attacking the football as well? Can you tell that, I guess, here over the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, him and Brooks Reed, to me, they're guys that can set the edge, probably like Kyle Vandenbosch when he was drafted by the Cardinals. I want to say it was in the second round. Yeah, I mean, he was a third-round pick. So, yeah, I mean, again, that's why I'm excited about this class because I think the majority have an opportunity to make the roster. And, again, we'll see how many of those first-year rookies get a chance to start because you can make a case for Isabella, Butler, Johnson. I don't think Thompson will start. He'll play on teams. And then Byron Murphy, you got to think he's going to compete at slot corner with Tremaine Brock.
We do have a Kyler Murray question. Twitter user at Dowhan Noah wants to know about Murray's contract. Not when he signs, but just the details.
Yeah, normally you're seeing teams around the league sign guys. Now, these guys will get in town. The Cardinals will get it done in a probably within the next couple of weeks. Everything's slotted. So if you want numbers, it'll be a 4-year deal for $35 million. He'll get $21 million guaranteed. The first year of the contract, he'll make $6.4 and overall, the length of the contract will be about 8.7. So very economical when it comes to playing the quarterback position, and because he's on his rookie deal. And then the Cardinals will have an option to pick up the 5th year down the road.
Darren Urban blogged about that, the numbers and exactly what goes into this contract on azcardinals.com. Last question from Twitter at Bratchbone wants to know, do you think Brett Hundley has the backup quarterback spot wrapped up?
Well, Charles Kanoff is a guy, I don't know, how much he's learned or retained install, but I think the Cardinals keep 2 quarterbacks on the roster. Hundley is backed up Aaron Rodgers. He's backed up Russell Wilson. He can learn this offense, more RPOs he's had in his past. So I would think right now he's the backup quarterback. Now you don't know, next year and the year after, because I would think they want to find an air raid quarterback because obviously that would sync up what they want to do offensively. But I think he's safe for this year, possibly next year.
Bird Gang sounding off here now. We go to Instagram using the hashtag CardsCover2, hashtag CardsCover2. User OU19AD wants to know, what role will J.R. Sweezy play this year? Significant contributor or mentor?
No. He's going to be a starter. I mean, yeah, I'm sure he'll be a mentor for some of these young guys. Yeah, that's just part of being in the same room with them. They got a great coach in Sean Kugler. We don't know officially where they're going to line up. It sounds like Pugh may go back to left guard, his natural position. And Sweezy is a guy that's bounced around a little bit. He would be your starting right guard. And I think having him and Gilbert on the right side, that's where you normally try to run the football. So Sweezy, yeah, he could be a mentor, but he's going to be a tough guy, physicality. And he's going to help this running game and also protect Murray.
And Sweezy played right guard last season for the Seahawks.
Exactly.
So just as far as just switching back, just kind of stay where you were at.
Yeah, we think that's going to happen, but hey, that's why they have competition at certain positions.
Instagram user at Anthony_ARZAGA, Arzaga, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. What are the chances that Byron Murphy is the day one starting cornerback?
Corner, slot corner. I think the Cardinals have committed to Robert Alford. We know Patrick Peterson's going to play the other side. But Tremaine Brock does have experience. He's played for Vance Joseph in the past. He played for the Niners pretty good there. He went to Minnesota. So competition, but I think maybe the first month of the season, they're going to play a lot of three corners, not three safeties. So I think Byron Murphy, I don't know if it's week one, but he'll be in the rotation. He'll play on special teams. It wouldn't surprise me if he's starting at some point.
Instagram user at Jacob Willow. How often should we see David Johnson catching passes?
Wow. I mean, I think that's going to be a big part of it. Obviously, they want him to be the bell cow in offense. It wouldn't surprise me if he gets 5 to 8 targets a game. It could be 10, meaning he may have 5 or 6 receptions. He's definitely going to be involved when they go 4 wide, whether he lines up as a wide receiver or in the backfield. They're going to definitely take advantage of matchups. So I'm hoping he gets between 20 and 25 touches per game. You kind of can figure it out between receptions and rushing.
A couple of more here as we continue on Bird Gang Sound Off. Instagram user at AZ Pajaro. Which rookie receiver will be the first to score a touchdown in 2019? Come on, let's get a prediction.
Rookie receiver. Well, I think Isabella's going to be on the field more than the other two for now. I mean, it can change. Shaquem Butler, Johnson. I think it's going to be based on down and distance. Hopefully Larry scores the first one, but he's got enough.
Those specifically asked about
I know.
The rookies.
I'll go Isabella just because his versatility, not only in the slot, because sometimes you get tackled, but he can get on the outside too. So I'll go Isabella just based on snaps.
They didn't specify preseason or regular season.
That's true. Preseason, all 3 of those guys are going to get catches.
Last one, Instagram user at Chris Margaram 11. What positions can you see the Cardinals addressing with a possible veteran free agent this offseason?
Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Again, I think they're going to wait for the rookies to start practicing with the veterans. We get to the OTAs. There's 10 of those, and then we have mandatory veteran and all-team camp. So I would think offensive tackle, even though Cunningham will be your swing tackle. They have Miles there. I think he's more of a practice squad guy. I think defensive line, even though they drafted Zach Allen. We don't know the availability of Kim Dichie. And then I would say inside linebacker. And then I would just throw safety in there, but I don't think it's a pressing need. But I do think they'll bring some guys in because what happens is once you go through your rookie minicamp and you go to the OTAs, teams say we got a younger player that has more upside, so they start releasing players. So I think it's not going to be like 5 guys because they went out and did a great job claiming free agents on the waiver wire, signing free agents before free agency started, signing during the period. So if there's a guy they think can help them add some depth, I think they'll address those positions in any order, nothing in particular.
Appreciate the Bird Gang sounding off here on this Wednesday. The hashtag Cards Cover 2, hashtag Cards Cover 2 with the number 2 to get involved in the show. We mentioned the 3 positions, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, linebacker, inside linebacker. You watch, the next move will be like a wide receiver or a cornerback, or because and I say that kind of facetiously,
if they're on the waiver wire.
Well, and that's true because sometimes there's a surprise, and then you're looking at your roster and it's like, okay, can this player that just became available, is he better than these guys? And if the answer is yes, then you go, okay, let's swap.
Okay, based on what I think it's an educated guess. I don't know. They haven't told me. But is there any other positions you would address?
I know there's been a lot of conversation outside about, and we had a question about it, the backup quarterback. Maybe you want a veteran in there to help mentor a Kyler Murray as opposed to Brett Hundley, who is a veteran but doesn't have that game experience. But I'm in agreement with those 3 positions. I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise if they added another spot, but I think those 3 that you mentioned, offensive tackle or just the offensive line in general, if you can get better, and even on the interior, defensive line, and then inside linebacker, to me, jumps ahead of all those positions.
Yeah, like I said, I just think, listen, I hate to be disrespectful, but if Murray goes down, then we got bigger fish to fry.
Well, you can say that about every team.
True,
but
I'm just saying in general. Now, you like to have a backup quarterback. Again, I'm encouraged. Now, his win-loss record was 3-6. he was Mr. Checkdown. McCarthy had the handcuffs. I felt bad for him. He wasn't allowed to throw it down the field. They were trying to just hope to go on a 10, 12-play drive. But I think backing up Aaron Rodgers, getting a chance to play, and then backing up Wilson, I hope that he's learned something, because those are two quarterbacks that have similarities in traits to Kyler Murray.
Bottom line is the Cardinals are always looking.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
always paying attention.
And it's funny, real quick here, because every time a guy gets released, and I say, listen, everyone that gets released, they got the waiver wire claim, and if he's a seasoned veteran, which is later in the season, they take a look at every single player and they put a grade on him, and then they figure out, okay, who's that guy at the last guy at that position? Is he better than him? Then we're bringing him in. That's how you turn the back of the roster over.
Absolutely. Don't forget, coming up on Thursday, 1 o'clock special edition of Cards Cover 2. As far as the introductory press conferences, we'll carry those live here for Andy Isabella, Zach Allen, Hakeem Butler, and Deontay Thompson, and then back with you on Friday for our regularly scheduled Cards Cover 2 at 3 p.m. And that's going to wrap up this edition of Cards Cover 2. Special thanks to those behind the scenes, Tim Delaney, Jim Alejandro, Devin Henry, Jeremy Schnell, and also Jackson Sipes. For Mike Jurecki, I'm Craig Grialou. Don't forget, 1 o'clock on Thursday, Cardinals introducing their second, third, fourth, and fifth round draft picks respectively. We'll have it for you right here on Cards Cover 2.